Hello everybody and welcome to this week's episode of I Cast Fireball, an actual play 5e D&D adventure. I'm Thomas, and around the table we have
Lieutenant Ignis Halcon,
Maximus Shans,
Ataraxia Kalian,
and Buster Bilgewater.
Last we left the man's promise, they were dealing with a possible other mutiny. They were dealing with other crew members that approached Buster, not too pleased with the new leadership, the new captain aboard being a 13-year-old satyr who was just living life, man. So Buster brought it before the leadership of the man's promise, and they decided upon a plan. Now, after they had come to port and met Rickety Hake, they decided to enact their plan with a fog cloud amongst the mutineers and swiftly dispatching the said mutiny, showing the ferocity, the efficiency, and the true leadership of Ataraxia. Rickety Hake, being very impressed, started negotiation on squibbing the man's promise with his discussion and negotiation with Ataraxia, giving him a slight discount, but not before fear had crept over his face, hearing that this previously had belonged to Barnabas Harrigan. We join our adventurers now, after having dealt with the problem of the mutineers, right after the negotiation has taken place. And that is where we start this week's episode of I Cast Fireball. So, the man's promise is being brought into port here, rather into one of the boathouses where it can be properly squibbed with the agreed price of 1,800 gold, or 2 plunder with 200 gold given back to you to use as you will. As you bring it on in, the 2 living mutineers, I believe their names were Graza and
Orc guy.
Orc guy.
Orc man.
That's right. As Graza and Krobrum were being brought off the ship and being dealt with and taken care of. Well, you all have earned yourself a little bit of infamy here with that act in front of everybody, which I'm actually going to grant you, the adventuring party, 1 point of infamy here. Which, I don't think we've discussed infamy yet in this season, but this is going to be one of the currencies that you're going to be able to draw upon and need for possible influence and possible social situations as a pirate. There are 2 things that I'll bring up here. I won't go into a lengthy discussion about them, but there will be 2 things that I'll be keeping track of and that each of you can influence through your collective efforts every time you come into port. One of them being infamy. This is your reputation, your renown, how of you being a pirate. Not only Ataraxia, but the ship as a whole. So the man's promise at this point. Buster could spout the stories and laud their achievements, or it could be Ataraxia himself or the lieutenant. But essentially what you can do is you can go into port and you can spread those stories around, whether they be true or false, and you can get infamy. And this is how you become well-respected, well-known captains, or rather free captains of the Shackles. Now, in so doing this, you can also gain what's called disrepute as you gain infamy. Disrepute is going to be a literal currency that you can cash in from time to time, depending on your infamy tier, to benefit your ship, to encourage the members of your ship to either work faster, harder, or to actually get healed through your pirate infamy. I'll express some of the more detailed things that you can cash in on at a later time, but we don't have any significant disrepute right now that you can cash in on. But this is something that will be to your benefit if you keep this in mind every time you come into port. So just be aware of that. But with that action, I'm going to give you that 1 infamy for swiftly dealing with the mutineers on the man's promise there. Rickety Hake comes out of the captain's quarters with you, Ataraxia, and goes, Ataraxia, like I said, why don't you come to dinner tonight with some of your trusted advisors, the leadership, and we'll start squibbing the ship, no problem, okay?
Sounds like a good plan to me. Before we can do that, though, of course, and I turn to the lieutenant and say, I was just talking with good old Rickety here, and he said we're not allowed to go onto the island with Brolivar and Lugrim and Fink. We gotta get rid of them before we can get on the island because they're bad news.
That's pretty true. I don't want any Harrigan's Manor on my island here, all right? So you do as you will with that, but I'm going to go ahead and have some plausible deniability and get off the ship here for a little bit while you deal with that issue, okay?
Sounds good to me, dude.
All right. As he passes each of you, he kind of looks at you in turn and goes, hey, good work. Yeah, you too. And Buster, as he comes to you and be like, wizard, huh? Yeah?
Me? Yeah.
Yeah, wizard?
Sure. Yeah. Helmsman. Helmsman. Navigator.
Yeah, sure. I'm very impressive there. Very impressive.
Cheers.
And that's all he says as he climbs on down to his ship, and they start rowing back to shore while your ship is being ushered, or rather waved, into the boathouse.
Seems like a nice guy.
So, to what degree do we need to get rid of these guys?
They're not allowed on the island. That's all I really know about the situation. So, you know what? I don't even need you to tell me what you do with them. You just need to do something with them.
The three that are not allowed on the island are not the two of the mutineers, are they? Aren't they three different guys?
Correct. This is the old Harrigan regime. These are the Harrigan regime from before.
I knew they were trouble. I knew that these three guys were trouble when we let them live in the first place, to be clear. I was on team throw them over the ship. Not that I have a problem. I kind of look at Max. I'm like, not that everything worked out the way, it's supposed to, Captain, but...
Ignis will tip her hat to the captain and then stroll toward the stairway that leads to the lower decks as she's thinking through how to deal with that problem.
Max, what's the main thing that you are going to be on the lookout here as we are coming into the boathouse? Having just dealt with the mutineers, chatted with the other leadership of the ship here, what are you looking out for the most here on this island or in this small port?
You mean from like the crow's nest kind of aspect, or just what am I looking for in general?
Just generally, you're going to be disembarking from the ship in a few moments here because once it gets to the boathouse, everybody's going to be off. And it's going to take days, possibly a week, to get this whole thing squibbed. So what are the things that you're looking for most when you disembark from the ship into the surrounding small, and I say with quotes, town area?
I'd say two things Max is always curious about. One is in terms of when we are starting to look at the boat, anything and everything that can give it more firepower. And number two, he will be looking for any type of, or hearing word of any type of monsters in the area.
Okay. So you're looking for rumors, specifically for your monsters, right?
Yep. But I'd take any general rumors, too.
Yeah. So you're going to be kind of like on rumor lookout, just generally, is kind of what it sounds like. And then, of course, the firepower, because you're all about the boom boom. Wonderful.
Okay, the three guys that are Harrigan's men that are not allowed on the island, they are the ones that originally did not want to swear to Ataraxia, or they're three different guys?
They're the ones from before we started the podcast that you mutinied against that were in the hold.
Because the new mutineers are not associated with those guys, right?
Correct. They were slaves originally.
And then what's my other question? He just doesn't want them on the island because they were Harrigan's men?
Yeah, he doesn't want any association with Harrigan on this island if possible. So those three people gotta go. And so he can do plausible deniability of like, oh, they never set foot on my island.
Yeah, well, I mean, even if he brings them aboard, like the word getting around that like some of Harrigan's men are on the island would be, hard to keep tight.
Yeah, so he doesn't want any rumors whatsoever if possible. So his only condition and stipulation was they cannot come on my island.
With navigation charts on the ship, are there any other islands that are close to this cove?
Not really, and you wouldn't want to be like you're already going into the boathouse. So you only have you're not going to be able to turn around and leave and then come back necessarily.
So I just want to gather information while Ignis is trying to figure out exactly what she wants to do with them.
Yeah, no, there's really no other islands around nearby that could be a longboat distance. It would take you quite a while.
Could I say when Ignis goes downstairs, that's one of the first things, though, that Max will do is actually follow her.
Sure. So we'll say Max and Ignis will have a moment here to discuss Harrigan's men. Ataraxia and Buster, you're staying the course. I guess now that I asked for Max, Ataraxia, what are you looking for on this island here when we disembark from the ship?
Well, main thing Ataraxia is looking for is opportunities to, build up the reputation. It's all about branding. So as far as the specifics of the details of the ship, what upgrades we end up getting, if any upgrades are possible as part of the squibbing, Ataraxia is not quite so mechanically minded as that. He's mostly just focused on, we want to let the people who are here at port know that we exist and we mean business, basically.
Excellent. Cool.
Yeah. Let a lot of people see the horns.
Let's hold the horns. Buster, as you're steering the ship into the cove here to the boathouse, would you say that your hands are shaking a little bit from the mutiny situation that you just overcame with your quote-unquote friends or associates here?
For as jumpy as Buster can be, he also has a good sense of when danger's not happening. So at this point, he feels great. He feels like we did it. We iced the betrayers. We're in the clear. The captain showed off some serious chops handling the situation the way he did. So I think Buster's feeling pretty good. I would say at this point, his head is where he has wanted it to be since we started heading for this island to be squibbed. All this stuff was such a distraction. And it's, I think what stressed him out the most, he couldn't think about what he wanted to think about. What he wants to think about is improvements to the ship, number one. Ways to kind of help improve its speed, and I would say particularly the seaworthiness. I don't want to sacrifice the hull for the sake of movement or guns. I want to I want a strong ship that's reliable, and I want it to move fast.
Gotcha.
There are the two other things I'm looking for. One is a really small little thing. I want to barter for some silver wire. And then the other thing that just occurred to me is I'd love to see if they have if any of the local traders have star charts or maps of that might pique Buster's interest.
Yes. Okay, it's maps, whether old maps maybe, or just just general maps of the area, even
specifically seafaring maps. I want maps of different chunks of the what's this big? That's the name for the whole area.
Yeah, so we're in the Shackles, which is part of the inner sea here.
So anything in the Shackles or on the the edges of the Shackles of within the inner sea, I think. If I find a map of an island that's unexplored, or a unique set of star charts that maybe give us some kind of interesting heading to somewhere, you never know what you're gonna find in an old map, and so there's you maps tell so many stories depending on who made them, where they were made, what information was put on there, what information was not, and so I think just a general perusal of any kind of really. At this point, now that he has a ship and he's not a slave, he would probably start hoarding maps.
Yeah.
If there are maybe any maps that have a big X on them.
Yeah, absolutely. Treasure for sure.
Treasure here.
I'm thinking maps with possible plot hooks as well.
Yeah, it could be different adventures. Honestly, it'd be great. I think it'd be fun too to find a map of a detailed map of a location. But we don't know what the location is. You know what I mean? It's
oh, and you have to find.
It's
there's no name to the island. Right?
Yeah, it gives you an island and a building and the stuff in the building, but we don't even know what island that is or where. So
cool.
That's fun.
Could be stuff that we sit on for a long time or any of that. So
cool. Sounds good. I've noted that. Max, as you are following after the lieutenant, your passive perception is 1,000,000. So we can, you know that there are a lot of whispers about what just took place, and you're a sneaky guy unintentionally, and just based on like your personality and like what you do, and so you unintentionally are kind of like walking down the hallway without much noise, and you can hear people mutter under their like talking like in the hallway or in one of the rooms off the hallway, and being like, "Did you see Ataraxia? I mean, just the ruthlessness that was both terrifying and exhilarating." And the other person was like, "I thought it was actually kind of inspiring, you know, like the freedom of like the shackles like could really like allow you to become your own person. I mean, he's only 13, you know." And you whispers, the sort of like whisperings of the deeds of Ataraxia, the captain, are already starting like rumors and buzz on the ship as well. So morale is fairly is a buzz after the recent interaction, and you definitely pick up on that vibe and pick up on those interactions that the crew is speaking about Ataraxia.
I want to use that, not right now, but at some point I want to use that to try and keep his legend growing. Like I don't know if it's in this immediate moment, but I want to like go up to like noting some of those who whispered and be like, "So you heard about the captain and just his daring, didn't you?" And then like, you know, they talk, and then I'm like, "Well, you know how he got his horns, right?" Like, "Well, he's he's a satyr. What else has horns?"
Yeah. From birth? Genetics?
Yeah.
No, it's
a demon.
Not from his satyr background.
Real?
More than that. Like just and like what other thing is he just like trying
Yarning
to
them
grow
along,
something?
right?
The real question is, how long has he been 13?
Yeah.
Oh, fun. So maybe like when we get to a pub, like in either the next day or two, that we'll come across that to kind of like keep spreading the legend of Ataraxia, of how a 13-year-old was able to even come into power here. You know,
Yeah. You've heard of the Forbes 30 under 30. How about the 13 under 13? Am I right?
If there are 12 other 13-year-old pirate captains,
That's what I do.
that is terrifying.
the parents of the Inner Sea have some explaining to do.
Just the rabbit hole. He's 13. 1 and 3. How many are his closest associates? 1 plus 3 is 4. 4.
The
There's 4 of us.
conspiracy theories.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
2 horns, 4
2
numbers.
horns. 1 child.
Lieutenant, Max is following you a
Yes.
little bit behind from you though, as he's hearing and taking this in. But you've got a mission. We don't need to go into necessarily any of the gruesome details, but you have
don't know
a
what
job.
the details are.
Exactly. That's what I'm asking. So, what do you?
Thomas
have
wants
planned?
us to be family friendly, but we're also pirates who murder. So, you know, create that
Guys,
balance
we
for us.
strive to be family friendly. We strive to be family friendly. Okay, Lieutenant.
Ignis calls out for the 3 NPCs to which Mickey doesn't know their names. And so as she's walking through the lower decks, she'll call out for them to meet her by the longboats on the starboard quarter of the boat.
Can they? Aren't they chained up?
I
No,
thought we
we
let
were-
them free. They were like working with
No,
the
they
cook.
were free because they said,
Yeah,
we're
we let them
we
free.
support him.
Okay.
And then once they all assemble, which I assume Max is still followed her down and followed her back up.
Yep. He's kind of like a distance away. He's not like by your shoulder necessarily.
Everything else that the lieutenant has done has been a very big spectacle. She's trying to maintain order and I don't want to say gain a reputation, but kind of, gain a reputation or like gain that respect of the crew or whatever. In this moment, she's using the rest of the crew as everybody's busy getting things ready to go into port, especially because nobody else knows what's going on with these 3, to have this conversation with them without it being a big spectacle. It's not meant to be a big thing in front of everybody. And so under the cover of the busyness of coming into port, she lines the 3 of them up and she puts her hand on her sword and she says, You three have put us in danger. You put the crew at risk, and we're not able to go into this port with you on the ship. So, I respect loyalty, and I want to give you an opportunity to change your fate. Either we can immediately send you to David Jones' locker. I won't lose a wink of sleep over it, and it will be done with you. Or I can put you in this longboat. I'll give you 3 days of provisions, and you can trust Rolterra to take care of you out there on the seas and see where you can go. We're within a couple of days of a few islands. You might be able to make it. The ocean might take you anyway. On here, there's death. Out there, there's a chance. What'll it be? You have 2 minutes, and then I'm going to send you to Davy Jones' locker if you don't decide.
They immediately start discussing. They're just chatting with each other, recognizing that your 2 minutes could really be a 1 minute, right? So I'm gonna roll for them and see the likelihood of like self-preservation or acceptance of their fate. Yeah.
It really is like if they die out there on the sea, it could be a very slow, agonizing way to go.
Yeah.
So yeah, but
It can be quick. It can be quick and painless right here, or it could be a slow, agonizing death out there. But at least there's a chance.
Yeah.
While the other two are discussing, one of them, a man, just comes up to you and goes, "I'll put my trust in Besmara. Do with me what you will, but I leave my fate in your hands." And he kind of spits off to the side on the ship deck and stands there defiant in front of you.
Can Max shoot him?
Yes. Having advantage easily on this. Having no resistance because accepting the sword or being pushed down, the arrow takes him and then he stumbles backwards and falls into the water.
She looks at the other two. And you two? Have you made up your minds?
The other two glance at each other and they nod their heads and go, "The longboat. We'll try the longboat and you'll never see us again."
Ignis will grab a seaman that is just running by the back of his vest, almost without looking, pulls him in. "Go grab 3 bags of rice, and I need a can of beans right now. Drop everything you're doing and do this."
He
Do you
drops
understand?
A cannonball. Aye, aye, sir.
And Ignis will load them into the longboat and lower it into the water while we're still waiting on the supplies. And then once they do come, she'll throw them down to them, and she'll pull out a rapier and just slice the rope that was connecting them to the boat. And so as the boat is being towed inward, they're just set adrift behind the boat. And then she'll turn to Max. "Wasn't expecting something like that from you. What changed your mind?"
Nothing changed my mind. I respect what you wanted to do, not the order in which you did it. We have a captain for a reason. He makes the calls. But once he does, I support it entirely.
Ignis kind of looks him up and down, especially because he's taller than her, as he kind of blocks out the rising sun as we're coming into port this morning. Ignis, okay, nods her head at him.
You, my dear, you have power. You have command. But there is only one who is in command. And all I was doing was trying to establish that he was in command. Once the dice decided he was captain, we don't get to question that.
That I agree with wholeheartedly. Fate has decided, and as insane as it might be, I think you're right. So I thought that maybe giving them a chance was better than just outright killing them, even though it feels like going soft.
Well, I would say the fate they will suffer on that boat will be nothing of softness.
Ignis laughs at that, and then as she looks across the boat, she realizes that they're wrapping the anchor incorrectly, and it's going to fall. And so she runs over and starts barking orders at them and helping them to retie the rope as they're pulling in, as they're weighing anchor and trying to get ready to go into port.
And as you disperse to your duties to finish things off. The men on the shoreline have actually begun a song, and they're singing just kind of like a smooth cadence as they're like pulling ropes and like as a new job is set upon them as they are pulling the boat in and getting it tied up and getting it hidden from the outside world. And they have a new job and a new loot that they will be able to partake in once this job is completed. So there's a good vibe. There's a good feeling on the shoreline here as you all disembark from the man's promise, not to be the man's promise for much longer, as it will take, I believe I rolled for this, it'll take 7 full days to get this whole ship squibbed from top to bottom. So 7 days, the whole next week, you and your crew will be on Rickety Hake's island. Now, as Rickety Hake invited all of you to dinner, was there anything you guys wanted to do before dinner, or that could wait to do the next day, as you will be treated to a feast, so to speak?
Well, before we get too far, we got to make a big old spectacle out of putting Graza and Cobram up there in those gibbets.
Very true. Absolutely.
Captain, I hate to remind you that if we're going to squib the ship, we probably need a name, perhaps a Jolly Roger.
That's right.
We want democracy. This is probably the only time we'll have the crew all together.
Okay. In the name of managed democracy, everybody. Okay, so let's, before we step off, we have narrowed it down in our sort of March Madness style bracket to 4 names. And now
there's a couple people on the ship that are like, woo! Like they're really into
their
this.
Papers
They're like,
and
I'm
they're
a
like,
part of the crew.
All right, so on one side of the bracket, we have the Silvery Barb. That's one of the names, and it is competing against
The Menagerie.
The Menagerie.
the Menagerie.
Yeah, that was a good one. I really liked that one.
Silvery Barb versus the Menagerie.
Okay.
The Satyr's song.
Oh, the Satyr
Ooh.
song. I like that. Ignis actually pulls out from, so around her waist is wrapped this red sash, kind of out of nowhere. And as she pulls it off and gives a quick flick, she's drawn out, or she's actually weaved a Jolly Roger of sorts. And she says, the name that I was thinking of was the Red Pirates. And the back of the Jolly Roger is actually bright red, whereas most Jolly Rogers are black. And then the design it's the satyr horns out of a skeleton hand, and the bottom of the hand is the skull.
Holy okay.
Oh, jeez. Oh, listeners. We're going to have to post that in our Discord.
Post that on the social media thread. Well, that could still be our flag. Or we could just have a different name.
the flag. It's the Red Pirate.
That could be our flag for any name. Yeah.
Yeah, for any of the names.
So then
sure.
she'll hold out the Jolly Roger flag that has the satyr horns for respect and terrification. And it's all skeleton hands, and then where the palm is, the thumb creates one of the eyes, and the other eye is carved out of it, and then it goes down into the skull teeth.
Where the wrist would be is the upper jaw. Yeah.
All right. Okay, so we're going to have a vote first on one side, the Silvery Barb versus the Menagerie.
How does democracy work in a D&D game?
How are we doing this, gang? Are we actually voting, the 4 of us?
I was actually just going to ask the players here. I'd say all 5 of us vote for between these two, actually.
Yeah, we need 5.
because-
It needs to be splittable. Yeah.
So out of the 5 of us, we got the Silvery Barb versus the Menagerie. How many votes for the Silvery Barb?
I vote Silvery Barb.
I too vote for Silvery Barb.
I like the Menagerie.
Mickey is Menagerie. Me and Josh are Silvery Barb. Jacob?
Menagerie.
Menagerie. All right, Ataraxia. I mean Ned. Silvery Barb or Menagerie?
I mean, I like the Silvery Barb personally.
All right, Silvery Barb goes to the first round. After that, you see some people on the deck. They're like, "Oh man!" And you see some coins exchange hands. People seem to be betting on just pretty much anything at sea to keep things interesting. And now we go to the Satyr Song versus the Red Pirates. Players here, what are we voting for?
Of those two, the Siren Song.
Satyr Song.
Or sorry, Satyr Song. It's not Siren Song.
I've got to vote Satyr Song.
I gotta vote
too.
Satyr Song too, just because I said it.
Satyr. I'd say Satyr.
I like Satyr Song.
Well, a resounding 5 votes for the Satyr Song there, and to which most of the people cheer on the deck for the Satyr Song as well. So that brings us to the Silvery Barb versus the Satyr Song. Players here, what are we voting for? Silvery Barb or the Satyr Song?
Silvery Barb is still my favorite, so I like Satyr Song, but I have to go with Silvery Barb personally.
Well, I mean, you swayed me. I'm voting for Satyr Song.
Okay.
They're both great. There's no lose here to me.
I think it's going to be a great ship name anyway. So Josh has got 1 for the Silvery Barb, 1 from Ned for the Satyr Song.
I'm going to go Silvery Barb. The Silvery Barb.
Silvery Barb, 2 for Silvery Barb. I'm going to vote for the Satyr Song. When I heard that, I was like, that's good. So now it's Mickey's turn to sway. Are we doing Silvery Barb or the Satyr Song?
Thematically, I like the Silvery Barb because I like that we have that as like multiple people have that as a spell. But if we're gonna do a Jolly Roger like this, that might be more interesting to have the Satyr Song because it like is like what is this? But when you hear it's a satyr, I think it's Satyr Song for me.
Honestly, I think you convinced me. You've made me change my mind. Yeah, I didn't even mean to do that, guys. It literally just came to me today.
Improv, baby.
Improv, baby.
It's improv, baby. So as people are making their final decision, the people who are voting for the Satyr Song, they throw up their horns for respect, and they're going, Satyr Song! And they just hold it while everybody's voting for Satyr Song. Some Silvery Barb. Some people are saying they want the Red Pirate still.
You don't need to say that. It's okay. I'm not attached to it. It's fine.
But Satyr Song! And then eventually everybody gets swayed over to the Satyr Song. Satyr Song! Satyr Song! Satyr Song! Satyr Song! Rickety Hake, though, goes, hey, you got a pretty enthusiastic crew here, Ataraxia. That's pretty good. I mean, that's pretty definitive on the ship's name.
Yeah, we are one in mind and purpose.
Yeah, man, that's pretty cool. It's pretty good. And again, Rickety Hake kind of bending over his back, not being so good, and goes, hey, I'm going to have dinner in 2 hours, and hope to see you guys all there. And just points to the 4 of you and goes, it's just my house right up there. Right. You can find it. Everybody knows where I live, all right?
Awesome. I'll see you in just a moment, and I'll kind of pat him on the back, and I'll cast a Cure Wounds on him to ease his aching joints.
He initially goes, okay. I knew there was magic on that ship. Okay, cool. And he stands up a little straighter and kind of like shakes his legs out and goes, that'll keep me going for a little bit. And he just walks straight back to the house. And as soon as he gets to the house, he kind of like holds his back a tiny bit and like starts to, just a little bit. He goes, okay, before he closes the door behind him.
All right. Well, we got a couple people to put on public display for their indiscretion.
Graza is, he is tight-lipped. Yeah, he's just kind of tight-lipped, kind of like, he feels that if he is quiet and takes it with dignity, it shows that he's like a better man, better pirate. So Graza, the tiefling, is sort of indignant to the whole situation. He's got that pride, that tiefling pride that's behind him as he gets thrown in to his situation there. Cobram, though, is still kind of holding his gut. It's like, and he's kind of like gritting through it. But he's no martyr here. He is not trying to hold anything back. He's just kind of like accepting and being like, and just trying to take in the situation for what it is in the moment, and not trying to like finagle his way out of the pride that Graza has, right? So, but he gets thrown in, and standing up tall is a little bit hard for him, but he has to find a way. So he's kind of like leaning where he can, and trying to reduce the pain in his gut.
You really peaked in primary school, didn't you?
Oh, I didn't get to go to school.
Okay. I pat him on the belly and walk away.
Man, I gotta admit, Cobram's taking this in a pretty honorable sort of way.
I do. Out of the three of the mutineers, he's not.
I've kind of always had a soft spot for Cobra,
he's not
to
bad.
be honest. He's just like, oh, he can't help himself, kind of thing.
He tried to kill
I
you.
know, but it was like a lovable kill.
He tried to kill the captain.
I know, but
What
like,
are you guys talking
but it's
about?
like
What's wrong
That's a
with
we all
t-shirt.
have bad emotions sometimes.
There's nothing going on up here, though. It's as big as his muscles are. There's nothing in the head. He's just
immensely impressionable. Like, if other people could convince him to kill me, I could probably convince him to just be chill.
He's also the only one who apologized, who actually said, like, I'm sorry, I did it bad.
And
I didn't mean to.
he owned up to his feelings. When does anybody do that on a pirate ship?
Right?
Warms the heart.
Now, the
Warms
rest
the
of you
heart,
could
yeah.
take a lesson from Cobram in that regard, if I'm being honest.
He tried to kill you.
You know, maybe we'll give him a third chance by the time
He
we
tried
leave
to
this
get
place.
Buster to kill you.
I just want everybody to know I've written down for a possible t-shirt idea. He tried to kill ya. I know, but it was a lovable kill. So, we'll see what we can do with that quote, everybody. Great. If there's no objection, since we'll have a lot of time on the island, 7 days worth, we'll jump to the dinner with Rickety Hake, unless there are severe objections to that.
I do feel weird being on land. It's a little bit like, ugh, like, I don't want to be here long. I want to be back on the boat.
And especially for you, Buster, living most of your adult life on a boat.
I spent so much time on the dirt in the earth. I'm done in my early years. I need the sea, yeah.
No, so this is as you all are invited. You enter Rickety Hake's house. It's not a mansion at all, but it is a nice dwelling for a town of this size. And there is like more than just. There's like about 4 rooms, and the kitchen is decent. And he's not making his own meal. He does have some of his hired help that are making it. He's actually paying Fish Guts to assist in the kitchen as well, because having some ship's chefs is nice to get some different flavors. I find that I get a little bit of everything from the world when I hire some of the cooks and the chefs. Some of them are not so great, you know. But this guy said he made a pizza the other day, so I'm real intrigued this week. So hoping for some real good cultural diversity here.
Yeah, and before I accidentally made him cook the pizza because I forgot about the flounder, he was going to make some sushi for Glenlivet.
Oh, and he turns over to Fish Guts and goes, is that true? Is that true, Fish Guts? And he goes, Yep. I was gonna do that, and you know what? We actually still did. It was great. Everybody got the best of both worlds. I was challenged, and everybody proved in a skill that it was
master chef.
It was pretty good for everybody.
Fish Guts is the best.
The gauntlet was tossed, as you may say, as one might say.
But while you're eating, this is a very good meal. Not only is Fish Guts a lot better, actually, with just a variety of resources to choose from, he's really starting to show a little bit of that diversity. But the other chef that is Rickety Hake's personal chef is also fairly well. And this is where I'm sure Ned can contribute with a lot of his cooking knowledge here. But it's good. It's just to like the edge of like most everybody's palate for being a pirate. Most people are used to just standard food. This is a step above that, but it's not quite into the fancy food area. So as the conversation goes on, what sort of questions do you have for Rickety Hake?
Well, you obviously have been in the area for a long time. You've got a lot of experience. We are looking to cut our teeth as an overly ambitious young crew who's ready to take over the world. If you know of any, claims we might seek to stake our name to try and increase our renown, we'd be happy to have, even if it's a bit of a challenge, like Fish Guts here said he was challenged, he came out better for it. We'd be happy to take some tips if you got them.
I say this with a lot of love because I miss these days. I really like the ambition of youth. It does bring a lot of it brings a lot of change into the world, which us old guys like myself we get to experience, and we get to really just kind of see as a I don't want to say visitor, as a observer, right? And it's nice. It's refreshing to see that coming up, especially for someone who wants to be a free captain. It's not often I get to see someone just starting out. A lot of times I have established free captains come in who have already had like notches under their belt, not who's just starting out. So, yeah, it's really nice. And he looks to the rest of you around the table, to Ignis and to Max and to Buster, and going, and you all support him, yeah?
We look at each other.
Completely.
Wholeheartedly.
Yeah, absolutely. Unfailingly. I feel like we demonstrated that pretty succinctly earlier on ship.
As Max grunts, he goes, had I not seen your presentation on the ship, I wouldn't trust those words. But you, Buster, I think you're telling the truth here. So, yeah. I reminisce about my old days as being on a pirate ship, and if you forgive an old man for getting caught up in the nostalgia of being on a crew that he trusted his captain, it's nice. It's really refreshing to see that camaraderie and being behind your captain.
As he's kind of waxing on, I'm thinking maybe he's about to start telling a story, so I pull out one of my scrolls and a quill and get ready to start writing it down.
Any chance we might know of your moniker as a free captain?
A free captain? No. I was no free captain. Just part of a crew. I enjoyed, and although I do enjoy a modicum of power, I was not as ambitious as some other people to become a free captain. You know what I'm saying? But I did fly under. Have you heard of the ship the Rift before?
Have we?
Have I?
Could I have read about it?
Everybody roll me a history check.
Yeah, if anybody has, then it would probably be Ataraxia with all of his mom's
True.
scrolls
It probably
and stuff.
would. It probably would. Ooh, Ataraxia, I'm going to give you advantage, actually, because of your mom's scrolls.
I rolled a 21.
I rolled a 3.
Nice.
Max
I'm just like, this food is so good.
I imagine if I've heard anything, it would be like third hand, like from somebody else.
Yeah, as Ignis thinks through all of the pirate books that she has read, that name does not ring any bells for her.
Well, I got a 17.
Okay, sounds good. So Ataraxia and Buster, both of you have heard of the Rift. Ataraxia, it's from some of them from your mother's scrolls, and it was captained under the captain Ada Foul Shirley.
So that was Captain Ada Foul Shirley's ship.
No, Ada, she treated us right. She really kind of pushed the limits there, pushed the edge and that's eventually what took her. Unfortunately, may she rest in the may Benzmara take her into the wild beyond. But we did some crazy stuff in our days, and Buster, you recall that the ship, in fact, both of you, Ataraxia and Buster, both of you recall that the ship was called the Rift because Ada's obsession was about the plane of water. And so she was constantly seeking out whispers to get to the plane of water somehow. So she was looking for the Rift, some sort of break between the dimensions. That would take her dangerously close to the permanent hurricane that is just north of the Shackles, and just one of the many dangerous things that she did over her time, but which got her kind of a reputation, and hence the ship's name as well.
Now, there's certainly some intrigue in Ataraxia's mind, this connection of a captain who is trying to discover an interplanar travel method, because Ataraxia has a great deal of interest in the First World, the land of the Fae here in Galarian.
That's right.
There's kind of some poetry there, right? To having that kind of goal and never meeting it. She spent all her days striving for something. You know, you gotta think that even though she didn't find what she was looking for, it was worth the journey, right?
Yeah, I mean, I left her before she ended up disappearing, so maybe she did, but it was that tenacity, it was that goal that caused me to want to follow her, to be a part of the rift, to find the unfindable, and to go and to brave the danger of the seas. It really was a beautiful time to be able to spend my youth on, and but I'm afraid those days are past me.
Can I roll an insight? I want to roll an insight on how
go and roll an
sincere
insight check. While you're inciting, he actually starts to pull out a pipe with some with a pouch, and the tobacco or the material that he's going to be he's put into his pipe is actually a color that you've not come across or that you've seen before. So it seems to be unique, but he starts to put it and he lights it up while you're rolling your insight here.
Why did you leave?
13.
13. Okay. I'll describe your result while answering this question. Why did I leave? Well, I was injured. My back. We were braving some of the outskirts of the permanent hurricane up there, and just some other crazy storms. I had one of the masts actually fell on me, and broke my back. And although we did have a healer on board, the damage was still semi-permanent. Hence why I've got this. And he kind of tries to twist his back, and he goes, this crick in my back, see? And the older I get, the worse it gets. And I had to take my boots off the deck, so to speak, and plant them on firm ground. I couldn't give up the life, though, hence why... And he kind of raises both hands to this guy with the pipe in his mouth. That's why I opened up Rickety Squib's Isle, to help other enterprising free captains in their endeavors to find the unfindable and to brave the unknown. Yep. While he's talking about this, Buster, and as he's reminiscing on his past days, you can see just kind of a contented smile come over him, and from what you can tell, he seems pretty sincere and pretty reminiscent, nostalgic about all of these, and there's not a shiver, there's not fear as he speaks.
Cool.
And I am, still with my quill and my parchment. I'm like, dude, so how close did you get to the Eye of Abendigo? Most captains, they just try and steer as clear from that hurricane as they possibly can. But, what was it like to actually be in there?
Oh. Well. And as he blows smoke out, it actually is a prolonged bit of smoke that hangs in the air. And as he kind of blows the remainder from his mouth, it stays there in this formless shape. And he goes, the Eye of Abendigo. It was not pretty, I'll say that. And as he speaks, the smoke starts starts slowly swirling into, as you can see, weather patterns and actually the outside of the Eye of Abendigo hurricane itself. And it's at that point you actually see amongst the smoke a tiny ship being rocketed up and down as it's journeying towards the Eye of Abendigo. And he goes, I'll admit, I never made it quite into the Eye of Abendigo. Ada, she had all these ideas and these theories of how to enter, how to get through safely, but she wanted to get in there without any sort of blessings or curses or deals being made with any creature, demonic or celestial. So, and as he keeps saying that, you see the ship getting thrown off course and getting turned turned away before it has to move on. And then to the other side of the vision, another ship comes in from another approach and tries to pierce the swirling mass of the Eye of Abendigo above you before it too is being buffeted away. We got close that one time, but it was at that point where it got too dangerous and the part of the mast fell on me, and that's when I broke my back. I had to, that was my last voyage with Ada, but it was exhilarating. As he's looking right at you, Ataraxia, it was exhilarating. Just you against the elements, and you just with nothing but nature in front of you, and the sea spraying up in your face, and as you taste the bileness of the salt of the salt air as it buffets against you, it's like nothing I've ever experienced before in my entire life.
Oh my gosh.
I'll have what he's having.
You got to wait for the pass before you puff.
It's just
That's right. I was good. I just, you know what they say, a bend to come, a bend to go.
Oh my gosh.
So sorry.
You should be.
Fishguts just slams a plate in front of you and goes, "Hey, it's a sushi. Yeah, that's what he's having. All right, we're all having it. Okay."
Well, if I ever manage to make it to the center of the Eye of Abendigo, I'll make sure to say hi to Ada for you.
I like that. But you're looking for enough about my old days. As he waves away some of the smoke and it starts to dissipate from above and kind of disperse across the room and disappears. As he keeps smoking, he goes, but you're looking for, well, you're looking to get away from Harrigan. Is that right?
That is super right. For the time being, until we decide that we're ready to go and off him.
I'm sorry, what?
And it's at this point where a seriousness and like the jovial like nostalgia starts to leave him, and just this this coldness kind of comes over him a little bit. Because if you would allow me to give another tale while we're here, if I can pass this story on to you, and he taps at you.
Quill at the ready.
Yeah, he taps on your parchment. Goes, you might want to write this down. He takes a big pull from his pipe and lets it out, almost like across the food, as he lets the smoke collect in front of all of you. The Shackles have, they've been a haven from the tyrannical rule of the Chelixian Empire up north. Not only has it been to the Eye of Abendigo that stands between us and them, but the diligence and ferocity of the free captains that have called these seas home. There have been many free captains that have earned their title, though, through their tenacity and grit, and as I look to you, dare I say their spunk and youth. But Barnabas Harrigan gained his through his cruel and barbaric ferocity. Harrigan has been a free captain, and it's at this point the smoke starts to collect and actually form the visage, the face of Harrigan, standing or shaping before you. Harrigan has been a free captain for some odd 20 years, and he has traveled the Shackles numerous times over, even traversed past the inner sea here to gain a name and reputation amongst the governments around the world. And you can see his ship start to take form behind his face as it just gets bigger and larger and looms and takes up most of the smoke in front of you. But I wouldn't squib one of his ships if he were threatening my own sister. It was about 15 years ago, and Harrigan's face instantly becomes younger, where Harrigan had already made a name for himself to be a vicious and enterprising pirate. And at this point you see the pirate ship and smoke rolling over the smoke as if it were on the seas start to chase after this other ship as well. You see, he'd come upon a merchant vessel seeking to take all of its plunder and give the crew a choice between a life of piracy or a watery grave. A quick battle ensues where Harrigan's ship easily overtakes this merchant vessel. And you can see that they board. They're like little smoke figures that board the new ship before the smoke actually dissipates. And Rickety Hake has to take another pull and breathe out a new puff of smoke. Well, it was only after they weakened the vessel and boarded it that they realized it wasn't a merchant ship at all, but a refugee ship, providing passage to men, women, and children for a new life beyond the Chalixian Empire. And it's this, you see the smoke turns into a bunch of like small figures, like holding each other, standing tall, and Harrigan's form like 3 times as large as the rest of the smoke figures before him. The refugees on the ship, they pleaded and begged for mercy from Harrigan, stating that they too had a hatred for the Chalixian Empire and only wished for safe passage to live their life in freedom. Freedom similar to what the Shackles provided free captains and pirates alike. And you can see one of the smoke figures communicating or trying to talk in words to Harrigan. And everybody on Harrigan's crew had been moved to compassion. Well, that is, everyone except for Harrigan. As Harrigan's crew implored their captain to see the refugees to the next port, and you can see some other figures and close to Harrigan, like tapping him, speaking with their hands, gesturing towards him. And it's at this point that Harrigan's size just continues to grow and taller and taller. That is, Harrigan grew more and more cold. It's said that the very air of the ship began to freeze as Harrigan walked up to the captain of the refugee ship. As the smoke figure of Harrigan walks forward. And as he towered over the defeated captain, Harrigan muttered a single phrase. Yarf waldu maid Aixreif. And what languages does everybody speak?
I've only got Common and Sylvan.
Okay.
Common, Elven, Celestial, Sylvan, Dwarven, and Draconic. Because I took the Linguist feat, so I got extra feats. Or I got extra languages with that feat.
Common, Draconic, Aquan, and Infernal.
And I'm just common and primordial.
Max. As you hear those words, Yarf waldu maid Aixreif, you translate them in your head through Infernal to be, your souls shall be my treasure. Oh. And Rickety Hake, he goes forward and he says, without warning, Harrigan slew this man where he stood, claiming his soul for his own, and as he did, he began to laugh, like shakes as if it were laughing and bellows. His laughter began to rise, and as it continued to, it became mixed with an otherworldly laughter that shook everyone to their very bones. As his laughter reached its pinnacle, Harrigan ordered his own crew to destroy every soul on board, claiming their lives as their plunder. Those that would not carry out Harrigan's orders, however, were slaughtered with the rest of the ship before Harrigan ordered it burned at sea, as a symbol of his barbaric nature. And this unfolding with the smoke as Harrigan throws a torch onto the smoke ship before it explodes and ignites and disappears into nothing. Harrigan's ship gained a new name from the other free captains that day. His ship was referred to as the Evil Fall. And it's said that in the dying light of the sun, out in the Shackles, you can still hear the cries of the refugees, crying out for safety and for peace, crying for vengeance. Vengeance against Barnabas Harrigan.
And as I finish scratching down with my pen, I pause for a moment before putting it down, and I look to Rickety and I say, well, if the refugees are calling for vengeance, somebody's going to hear them.
And that is where we're going to end this week's episode of I Cast Fireball.
Horns for vengeance.
Cedar horns for vengeance.
Cedar horns for vengeance. Yeah.
That was the name we should have picked.
Or the vengeance.
Horns for vengeance.
Seder
The
horns
horns
for
of vengeance.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Now we're just a satyr song.
No, it's just Seder horns, and then it's just like you
keep
can
changing
change
the
the name
name.
wherever. It's just kind of like a Velcro strip.
Rip it off and
So
put it in,
you
turn it
go
in
for
the
the
next-
day. Seder horns for
flannelgram.
something.
That'll be the orc guy's job.
He'll
Is the
get out.
Velcro.
Yeah, he's in
He'll
prison
get out.
right
He'll
now.
get out.
Yeah, he's not coming back with us.
Tortured.
No, he's getting a third shot.
He's getting a third shot? Where are we shooting him?
I love that. Like both Ignis and Mickey are bothered by this decision.
Oh,
Where are we
folks,
shooting him?
this has been a fun episode. Ned, Jacob, Josh, Mickey, thank you so much for joining as always as players. But listeners, thank you for season 2 joining us along this road. A bit different from our season 1 here, but we hope that the journeys and the fun seafaring adventures brings you just as much excitement as the Jank Squad does. So thank you so much for joining us on this journey that we've got. If you want to reach out to us, go ahead and shoot us an email, icastfireball2020@gmail.com, where we read every single response we get, and we even shout some of them out on our episodes here. If you also want to reach out to us on our social medias, we got icastfireball20 at Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. We can reach out to us at icastfireball20. But if you want to get to us on a daily basis, joining our Patreon, patreon.com/icastfireball20 is probably going to be the fastest and best way to join in. Just go see what tier works for you, because we'd love to see you in the Discord and talk to you about theories, mechanics, and possible sneak peeks of what's coming up. Don't forget our sister podcast, Improv Tabletop, where they have amazing 1-month campaigns, where they have a long form campaign that they've got going on, where they switch back and forth with their Fate Accelerated campaigns. They're fantastic. They're brilliant. Retune of the King is probably one of my new favorites right now, so go give that a listen, where they go through the Lord of the Rings trilogy mashed with Cartoon Network characters, and it's delightful. And don't forget to leave them.
It's an abomination.
Don't forget to leave them a 5-star review on the way out. Lastly, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your friends and fellow wacky adventurers. But until next time, I'm Thomas, your DM, and around the table we have
Lieutenant Ignis Hakon.
Maximus Shans.
Ataraxia Kalian.
And Buster Bilgewater.
Let's keep that fire going, everybody, and we'll see you all next time.